Have you ever felt that sudden silence? One moment they're there, texting, talking, connecting, and the next it feels like the air is sucked out of the room. You start replaying everything in your head. Did I say something wrong? Did I push too hard? Did I matter less than I thought? That silence can feel louder than words, and if you're not careful, it can break you. But hear me, their pulling away is not your breaking point, it's your breakthrough. The moment they withdraw is not the time for you to shrink, beg, or doubt your worth. It's the exact moment for you to rise, to stand taller, and to reclaim the power you've been handing away without even realizing it. You cannot control the avoidance behavior. You cannot force them to stay close. But what you can control is how you respond, how you rise, and how you protect your own soul in the process. Today, I want to give you 7 powerful ways to stay strong when the avoidant pulls away, because your strength is not negotiable and your value does not vanish in their silence. When the avoidant pulls away, the very first thing most people do is create a painful story in their head. They start asking themselves, what did I do wrong? Did I say too much? Did I push too hard? Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I'll never be enough. That story begins to take over your mind like wildfire. Every unanswered text, every moment of silence becomes proof that you failed, proof that you don't deserve love. But here's the truth. You are not suffering because of their silence. You are suffering because of the story you've told yourself about what that silence means. The human mind craves meaning, and when we don't get clarity, we create our own explanation. Unfortunately, when you carry wounds from the past, childhood rejection, abandonment, betrayal, your explanations almost always turn against you. Their pulling away doesn't just feel like distance. It feels like confirmation of every fear you've ever had about not being good enough. That is the danger of letting your mind run wild without checking it. That is why you must reclaim your narrative before it destroys you. Reclaiming your narrative means this: you stop borrowing their behavior as proof of your value. Their silence is not evidence of your unworthiness. It is a reflection of their patterns, their wounds, their coping mechanisms. It's not a mirror showing you your flaws, it's a mirror showing them their fears. You have to train your mind to separate you from them. When they withdraw, instead of saying, I must have done something wrong, you declare, this is not about me. This is about their discomfort with closeness. This is about their fear of intimacy. This is about their wounds that existed long before I showed up. The story you tell yourself in that moment determines everything. If you let the negative story play on repeat, you will spiral into chasing, begging, and proving your worth. But if you choose a powerful narrative, you shift into strength. You say to yourself, their distance is not my rejection. Their silence is not my shame. Their pulling away is not my cue to collapse. It's my cue to rise. Reclaiming your narrative isn't just positive thinking. It's survival. Because life will always hand you situations where people's actions don't match your worth. If you allow those situations to dictate your story, you'll live a lifetime of insecurity and dependence. But if you decide that no one's inconsistency has the authority to rewrite your identity, then you remain unshakable. So when the avoidant pulls away, catch the story forming in your head, interrupt it, replace it, write a new one that protects your power instead of destroying it. That is how you stay strong. When someone you care about pulls away, your sense of self is often the first thing to wobble. It's like your identity gets hijacked by their behavior. One moment you're confident, certain, and grounded, and the next moment you're questioning everything. Am I lovable? Am I wanted? Am I even enough? That's the trap. Because when your identity is anchored to another person's actions, you're no longer living from your truth. You're living from their approval. And that is the fastest way to lose yourself. Anchoring into your identity means remembering who you are when all the noise is stripped away. Not the roles you play, not the masks you wear, not the validation you get from others, but the raw, undeniable truth of you. Think about it. Before they came into your life, you existed. You had dreams, passions, qualities, and strengths that had nothing to do with them. You were whole before their presence, and you remain whole in their absence. Yet, when they distance themselves, it's so easy to forget that. You start measuring your worth in how much attention they give, and that is a losing game every single time. You must root yourself deeper than that. You must decide my value does not fluctuate with someone else's emotions. My identity is not for sale, and it is not negotiable. When you know who you are, their silence doesn't erase you. Their coldness doesn't shrink you. Their absence doesn't define you. You stand tall because your anchor is not in them, it's in you. And here's the powerful thing, when you're anchored in your identity, you respond differently. Instead of chasing, you hold your ground. Instead of panicking, you breathe. Instead of begging for closeness, you radiate strength. Because you know that love given from fear is not love worth having. You'd rather be alone in truth than accompanied in confusion. Ask yourself, who am I when no one validates me? Who am I when no one claps for me? Who am I when the room is empty and silence surrounds me? That answer is everything. Because if you know who you are in the quiet, no storm can shake you. If you know your worth when no one affirms it, you become unstoppable. The avoidant may pull away, but you won't pull apart. Anchoring into your identity is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Every day you must remind yourself, I am worthy. I am enough. I am complete. I do not need to prove, chase, or shrink. I belong to myself first. That's the kind of strength no distance can destroy. The moment an avoidant pulls away, your nervous system goes into overdrive. It feels like the ground beneath you is cracking open. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and before you even realize it, your body screams one thing: close the gap, fix it, chase them before they disappear forever. That urge is primal. It comes from survival wiring that tells you if someone important drifts away, you must run after them or risk abandonment. But here's the truth. Chasing only deepens the distance. The harder you run toward them, the faster they run away. That's why you must interrupt the cycle by doing the exact opposite of what your panic tells you to do. You breathe. That's right. Instead of sending another text, instead of replaying the last conversation, instead of begging for connection, you stop. You take a breath. You anchor your body in the present moment. Because when you breathe, you remind yourself of something powerful. I am safe. I am whole. I don't need to chase love to keep love. Breathing isn't just about filling your lungs with air. It's about reclaiming control over your nervous system. When fear rises, your breath shortens. When insecurity takes over, your breathing becomes shallow. That shallow breath feeds your anxiety, convincing you that something is wrong, that you must act immediately. But when you pause and take a deep, intentional breath, you break the cycle. You send a message to your mind and body that says, I am not in danger. I am in control. Every moment you choose breath over chase, you strengthen your self-respect. Because chasing says, my worth depends on your response. Breathing says, my worth is mine to hold, and I will not hand it over to your silence. One is desperation, the other is dignity. Think about the times you've chased before. Did it ever bring them closer for long? Or did it push them further away? Chasing may create temporary relief, but it also creates long-term exhaustion. You end up drained, anxious, and resentful because you've placed your peace in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to hold it. Breathing is different. Breathing re-centers you. It teaches you that you can survive the silence without falling apart. It shows you that connection is valuable, but self-control is priceless. So the next time you feel that panic rising, when your fingers hover over the phone, ready to send that desperate message, stop. Put your hand on your chest. Inhale slowly. Exhale deeply. Let the silence exist without letting it control you. That single act is more powerful than any chasing text because it declares, I am not running after love. I am standing in love with myself. When the avoidant pulls away, their silence can feel like punishment. It's almost like they've locked you out of a room, and you're left standing in the hallway with nothing but questions and pain. But what if that silence wasn't meant to break you? What if it was an opportunity to build yourself? What if their absence wasn't a loss, but a space being handed to you to finally focus on what you've been neglecting? You. Too often we see silence as a void to fill, and so we rush to fill it with overthinking, chasing, or desperate attempts to regain attention. But silence doesn't have to be a void, it can be soil. And what do you do with soil? You plant, you nurture, you grow. Instead of drowning in the quiet, you can decide to use it as the sacred ground where your growth takes root. Think about it. When they are present, So much of your energy gets tied up in them. What they think, what they feel, how they respond. Their presence becomes a center of gravity that pulls your focus away from yourself. But when they retreat, you suddenly have space. It might feel empty, but that emptiness is freedom disguised as loss. You can fill that space with things that expand you instead of things that drain you. You can read that book you've been putting off, pursue that skill you've been too distracted to practice, take care of your health, or finally pour energy into a dream you've shelved for too long. The silence becomes a mirror. It shows you how much of your identity you've tied to someone else's presence. It shows you the areas where you've been neglecting your own growth. And it gives you a choice: collapse under the weight of waiting or rise into the opportunity of becoming. Growth doesn't happen when everything feels comfortable. Growth happens in the spaces that challenge you, in the moments that force you to turn inward and discover what you're made of. The avoidant silence is not about you. It is about them. But what you do with that silence, that is all about you. You can spend it checking your phone 100 times a day, replaying the last conversation until your heart aches. Or you can spend it building yourself into someone so strong, so confident, so fulfilled that their distance no longer destabilizes you. Every second of silence is a seed. You get to choose whether that seed grows into bitterness or into brilliance. And when you use the silence as space for growth, you emerge from it more powerful than you entered. Their withdrawal may have started the silence, but you get to decide what that silence creates in you. When the avoidant pulls away, the natural impulse is to bend, to compromise, to tolerate more than you should just so you don't lose the connection. You tell yourself, maybe if I stay quiet, maybe if I accept this distance, maybe if I give them space, without ever speaking my truth, they'll come back to me. But here's the harsh reality: the more you abandon your own needs, the more you teach others that your heart is negotiable. And nothing destroys your spirit faster than teaching someone that your love will always cost you more than it costs them. Emotional boundaries are not walls, they are doors. They don't shut people out, but they decide who gets access and under what terms. Boundaries say, I love myself enough to protect my peace. They say, I can care for you without abandoning me. Without them, you become a sponge absorbing the pain, confusion, and unpredictability of someone else until you're left drowning in emotions that aren't even yours. With them, you become a rock, steady, grounded, and unshakable, no matter how much someone else wavers. The avoidant may need space. They may need distance. That's their process. But your process must include clarity. What do I need in order to feel safe? What is acceptable to me and what is not? How long am I willing to sit in uncertainty before I call it what it is? These questions are not ultimatums, they are lifelines. Because if you don't set the boundary, the silence stretches into infinity and you stay stuck in emotional limbo. Boundaries protect you from bleeding out. They prevent you from pouring your love into someone else's absence until you are empty. They are the line that separates self-respect from self-sacrifice. And here's the truth: the avoidant may or may not respect your boundaries, but that doesn't matter nearly as much as whether you respect them yourself. Because when you uphold your own standards, you train your heart to stop settling for less than it deserves. Setting boundaries can be terrifying, especially when you fear abandonment. But what's worse, losing someone because you honored your truth, or losing yourself because you never spoke it? The first might hurt, but the second will hollow you out completely. Boundaries are an act of love, not just for others, but for yourself. So when the avoidant pulls away, don't just sit there waiting for them to decide your fate. Decide your own. Choose where your line is and have the courage to stand by it. Because your love is precious. Your heart is sacred. And without boundaries, both become casualties of someone else's fear. One of the most exhausting cycles you can ever get caught in is the endless loop of why. Why did they pull away? Why do they act so cold? Why do they seem fine without me when I'm drowning in questions? Why can't they just love the way I love? That spiral can steal hours of your day, nights of your sleep, and years of your peace. But here's the truth: those questions rarely give you answers. They only give you pain, because every why keeps your focus stuck on them, and the more you fixate on their patterns, the less energy you have to live your own life. The shift happens when you stop asking why them and start asking what now. You see, why them is a disempowering question. It keeps you in their world, their psychology, their wounds, their decisions. But what now is an empowering question. It brings the focus back to you, back to your choices, back to your future. Instead of analyzing their silence, you ask, what do I need in this silence? Instead of decoding their distance, you ask, what action can I take to protect my peace? Instead of wondering what they're thinking, you ask, what do I choose to think about myself? This single shift can change everything, because the avoidant may never give you the closure you crave. They may never explain themselves in a way that makes sense. And if you spend your life waiting on their why, you will waste the very years you should be building your own joy. What now frees you. It puts the steering wheel back in your hands. Think about the energy you've spent searching for their reasons. The late night scrolling through articles, the analyzing of texts, the replaying of conversations. Imagine what would happen if you redirected that same energy into building yourself, into learning, growing, and stepping into your own purpose. That is the power of what now. It doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it into progress. The person who keeps asking, why them, lives as a victim of someone else's choices. The person who shifts to, what now, becomes a creator of their own life. One question leaves you powerless, the other ignites your potential. You may not control their distance, but you absolutely control your response to it. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling in the why, stop and redirect. Ask yourself, what now? What action brings me peace? What step moves me forward? What choice honors my worth? Because healing doesn't come from understanding them. It comes from choosing yourself here and now. When the avoidant pulls away, something inside you wants to prove yourself. You feel this deep urge to convince them, to show them why they should stay, to plead for their attention as if your very worth depends on their acknowledgement. That's the trap, the belief that love is something you have to earn, something you have to chase, something you must beg for. But the truth is this real strength comes when you stop acting like a pleader and start standing as the prize. Standing as the prize means recognizing your value independent of who notices it. It means understanding that you bring light, love, and energy into any relationship, and that presence is not something small, it's everything. When you beg for attention, you're teaching yourself that your love is a bargain, that it only matters if someone else accepts it. But when you stand as the prize, you are saying my love is not desperation, it's elevation. My presence is not a privilege you grant me, it's a privilege I extend to you. Think about the difference in energy. The pleader says, please don't leave me, I'll do whatever it takes. The prize says, I know what I bring. If you're not ready to receive it, I won't shrink myself waiting for you. The pleader chases, but the prize attracts. The pleader settles for crumbs, but the prize demands the feast. And the truth is, the way you see yourself sets the standard for how others see you. When you stand as the prize, you stop over-explaining, over-giving, and over-chasing. You stop proving your worth and start protecting it. And here's the powerful shift. You don't need to become louder, harder, or colder to do this. You simply need to stand firm in the quiet, knowing that you are already enough. That quiet confidence is magnetic. It shifts the energy completely. Instead of desperation pushing people away, your strength draws the right people closer. This doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean looking down on others. It means clarity. It means saying to yourself, I am not here to audition for love. I am not here to compete for scraps. I am not here to convince anyone of my value. I am here to live fully, love openly, and stand tall in my own worth. Whoever joins me on that journey is blessed, and whoever doesn't is not my loss. So when the avoidant pulls away, resist the urge to plead. Refuse to make yourself smaller just to keep someone else comfortable. Stand tall, stand radiant. Stand as the prize, because the moment you stop begging for love is the moment you start receiving the love that actually matches your worth. In the end, what truly defines your strength is not whether the avoidant comes back, but whether you rise in their absence. Life is not measured by how many people stay, but by how deeply you stand when others leave. Their withdrawal may shake the surface of your emotions, but it does not have the power to uproot the foundation of your worth. Unless you hand it over, you must remember that your identity, your value, and your peace were never built on their presence. They were built on your own resilience, your own growth, and your own ability to choose yourself again and again. When silence surrounds you, it is tempting to believe you are alone, forgotten, or unworthy. But silence is not emptiness, it is space. And space is power. In that space, you can breathe instead of chase, create instead of collapse, and grow instead of crumble. Every moment you spend investing in yourself during their absence becomes a brick in the fortress of your self-respect. And the stronger that fortress becomes, the less you will ever feel like you're at the mercy of someone else's distance. Boundaries, identity, and self-respect are not luxuries, they are necessities. Without them, you bleed for love until there is nothing left of you. With them, you shine so brightly that only those capable of honoring your light can stand beside you. The avoidant silence may be their coping mechanism, but your response is your power. You get to decide whether you spiral into the role of the pleader or rise into the truth of the prize. That choice will define not only how you survive this moment, but how you thrive in every future relationship. Do not waste your energy asking, why them? Life will not always hand you answers. Instead, ask, what now? That question pulls you back into action, back into clarity, back into a future where your happiness is not delayed by someone else's indecision. What now is the mantra of the strong. It's the rallying cry of someone who refuses to wait for permission to heal, to grow, or to live fully. And here is the final truth. Your worth has never been up for negotiation. You are not defined by who walks away. You are not diminished by who cannot hold your love. You are not broken because someone else cannot stay consistent. You are whole. You are worthy. You are more powerful than the silence, stronger than the distance, and brighter than the fear that drives others away. When you finally believe that, you stop pleading for love and you start living in it. So stand tall, breathe deep, claim your story, anchor into your identity, set your boundaries, and rise in your strength. Because when the avoidant pulls away, it is not the end of your worth. It is the beginning of your awakening. And the world is waiting for the strongest version of you to show up. Don't waste another second chasing shadows. Stand as the prize, because you always have been. Thank you so much for watching and spending this time with me today. Remember, your worth is never defined by who pulls away. It's defined by the strength you stand in when they do. If this message spoke to your heart, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the content that keeps you motivated, grounded, and empowered. I appreciate each and every one of you for being part of this journey. Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and never forget you are the prize. Take care and goodbye for now.